you're an Eagles fan, you didn't feel relief when the OC news dropped and you weren't watching the same season I was. Because this wasn't just a firing, this was the Eagles choosing success over mediocrity and finally listening to the words of their fans. And now we're in search of a new offensive coordinator, and that truly brings joy to my spirit. KP got the boot and they softened the wording. Instead of saying that he was fired, they say things like we're making changes and KP is still respected and we're looking forward to a future role in the organization. But let's not pretend the offense wasn't the weakest part of the team this season. By the middle of the season, defenses were way too comfortable. Other teams' defenses didn't look worried at all, and everything felt tight and predictable.
Hey, go ahead. Was the offense too easy? Predictable?
Speak your truth. Speak your truth.
And yes, the players didn't do themselves any favors, but this wasn't about all the penalties, the drops, and the efforts. It was about regression in KP's crap offense. The same looks, the same concept, it was very elementary and very vanilla. And if you watched the game, you knew this. And the wildcard loss to the 49ers put this on full display. The changes that we were promised never came.
You liar!
And I got tired of hearing that it's not all the coordinator and that the offense has to perform, but scheme creates execution. And that cost the Eagles a deep playoffs run, let alone the Super Bowl. And KP still hasn't taken accountability for his own actions.
But you're like, what's the common denominator? And you know, Fitz is good friends with Kevin Patullo, so he reached out and he's like, people are just so hard on me, and it's not my fault. And they don't understand the inner workings. And it's like, Kevin, we get it, but when you're the offensive coordinator with great power comes great responsibility.
Like, who wants a coordinator who can't take responsibility and can't get out of his own way? It's low-key pitiful when you're the one in control and you're calling the plays. Which brings us to the bigger picture that this wasn't just about one coordinator. And that means that the Eagles are actually acknowledging that Nick Sirianni cannot be the play caller. The Eagles succeed when Sirianni manages the culture and accountability. The offensive coordinator actually runs their offense and Hurts plays their style of football. So now that the Eagles have admitted what doesn't work, the real question is what actually does. So now everything shifts to the new hire, and this decision sets the direction for the future going forward. The offensive coordinator search is the most important decision of the offseason. We need to hire a play caller who actually understands what this roster actually is. We're physical, we run first, and we have a dual threat quarterback who's at his best when defenses count on him as a runner also. So let's talk about possible names that make sense. Todd Monken keeps coming up and it makes a lot of sense. He's older and doesn't have aspirations of being a head coach and is more likely to stay in Philly for the foreseeable future. He's kind of like a Vic Fangio but for the offense. And scheme-wise, he fits. His offenses know how to adjust when defenses change, which is more than we can say about KP's vanilla offense. Just look at the body of work that he's been able to do with Lamar Jackson. He leaned into what Lamar already did well and built answers around it. He built offenses off a physical run game, uses play action to create explosive shots, and give quarterbacks answers when defenses adjust. This gave Jackson MVP efficiency without abandoning the run. The downside is when he's behind, he does become very pass-heavy, but his passing game comes off of run and play action. And the only issue I see with Harbaugh signing with the Giants, I don't know if Monken is set to go with him. That door may be closed before it even opens. Kevin Stefanski is another name that belongs in this conversation. Despite all the BS that surrounded the Browns and the Shedeur Sanders incident, Stefanski is a solid choice. He's a two-time Coach of the Year, he has a run-heavy background, and he's one of the better play-action designers in football. His offense is live off forcing linebackers and safeties to hesitate, and that fits the Eagles because of their dynamic running backs. Now the only issue I see here is availability. He might not need this job. I don't think that somebody who had a head coaching job this last season will settle for an OC job, when there are so many other teams looking for a head coach. But if he misses out on this coaching cycle, that would be a massive win for Philadelphia. Now the big fish on this list has got to be Mike McDaniels. McDaniel might be the best offensive mind and play caller on this list. He maximizes skill players and manufactures space better than anyone. The only concern I have with him is roster fit. His offenses depend on speed, motion, and horizontal stress, which the Eagles haven't done well in the past season. That's not how our roster is built. The Eagles want to knock you backwards and run you over. That would mean shifting the entire offense and how it operates. And during his time in Miami, he hired Vic Fangio and then fired him a year later. Now, I don't know what their dynamic is and if the firing was McDaniel's idea or the front office, or if he would consider the job since Vic is there. Brian Daboll makes sense because of his connection to Jalen Hurts. Daboll coached Hurts during his time at Alabama. They've worked together before. He's also coached up Devontae Smith. They're all familiar with each other. And Daboll's best work has come when he's worked with mobile quarterbacks. He coached Josh Allen during his time in Buffalo, and even Daniel Jones had his best stretch under him. He had a 9.25 QBR, 3,205 passing yards, and 700 rushing yards. 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. And while under him, Saquon averaged 1,650 scrimmage yards. I think that the Eagles should consult with Jalen Hurts to see how he feels about him being the new hire.
I think overall my line is always open. And so however involved or whatever level of inquiry I am, I'll definitely be available.
Now, the only concern here is time. If Dable comes in, fixes things, and leaves after a year, then we're right back having this same conversation next year. Then there's Cliff Kingsbury. On paper, the fit is obvious, and last year he was in the pool for the offensive coordinator job before he was given the KP. He likes spread looks, defined leads, and he has a quarterback-friendly structure. Now, the downside is the offenses tend to start really, really fast, and they fall off towards the end of the season. And if you're tired of shotgun football, then this doesn't solve that problem. He's safe, calculated, and doesn't take too many risks. There's so many different resumes, there's so many different styles, but the requirements stay the same. We have the same checklist. The run game stays the central part of the offense. Jalen stays a dual threat. And the offense must adjust when the defense catches on. And if this process seems slow and seems to drag on, here's why. There are 9 teams hiring head coaches this season. The market moves first. Head coaching jobs go first. Coordinators must wait. Agents must wait, so that means the team must wait also. That's how the league works. It's all about timing. And while that process plays out, Howie Roseman has already given us clues about the direction that he wants his offense to go in. Signing Carson Steele tells you exactly where Howie's head is. More physicality, more downhill football, more commitment to the run. And if that means bringing back a true fullback element, I'm all in. And this benefits Saquon in a big way. We had plans for Ben Van Sumeren last year to take that role, but he got hurt in the first play of our season opener last year, and his status and his health remains questionable, which naturally brings us to the biggest question mark of the offseason. A.J. Brown. He's frustrated, and contracts don't care about how frustrated you are, and I don't know if we're sold on shipping him out this early. The dead cap hit makes this more complicated, and trading him immediately will cost real money. Waiting does change the numbers, but it doesn't make it easy, and I'm not about taking that cap hit. If the offense works again, he's featured the way that he wants to be, and he and Jalen are on the same page, and a lot of this talk dies down.
What about AJ Brown? Would you like AJ?
AJ and I have talked. We're in a great place.
Last one.
Maybe I can talk to him and ask.
And while everyone's focused on the offense, the defense has decisions to make too. Edge rushers matters, and if Jalen Phillips wants to stay and everything suggests that he does, then you got to prioritize that.
I think it was a nice reassurance that being myself is all I ever need to be, both on the field and off the field. Just being myself, the guys embraced me, and I thought I fit in well.
Fangio loves him. He was a pivotal reason for bringing him in. He fits the scheme, and you don't casually let pressure like that walk out the door. Because pressure doesn't just come from who you add; it comes from who's actually healthy. And it's not surprising that this year the O-line was far from healthy. Multiple starters were playing through real injuries.
That's all you can do.
What were you playing through this year?
A lot.
When you say you don't want to let anyone down, is that more of just a you personal thing, or do you think that's like a teamwork culture?
I mean, if you're in team sports, you understand.
And that explains a lot of what we saw late. This offseason, we need to focus on getting healthy. And if we can get back to being that dominant offensive line that we were in the past, I can guarantee that nothing is stopping us. There are a lot of things that need to be fixed and adjusted, and that's going to take time. Do I think that it'll happen? Of course I do. Do that, and this team is right back in the mix faster than most people think. So what do you think? Which offensive coordinator actually fits this roster? Which moves should the Eagles make? And do you feel confident in this offseason? Let me know in the comments. So signing off, this has been the Midnight Green Mafia.